Hello everyone. We are now continuing to look at the Hongmao System Administrator Certification Question Bank. Next is question 18. Here we have already basically completed the configuration of our second virtual machine. Next, let's specifically look at a few questions about disk management. In terms of disk management, we mainly need to manage logical volumes and swap partitions. And this, of course, this mainly includes first, the adjustment of the size of the logical volume. In other words, it can also be called expansion, logically called expansion. Second is the addition of swap partitions. Third is the creation of logical volumes. And finally, there is a configuration for system tuning. So first, let's look at question 18, which is about adjusting the size of the logical volume. All right. So here, first of all, the system already has a default logical volume. The requirement provided is to adjust the size of the logical volume and the file system to 230 MB. Moreover, it is necessary to ensure that the content of the file system remains unchanged. Here it is. Because there is a small issue, which is our partition size is rarely exactly the same as the requested size. Therefore, the acceptable range here is from 213 MB to 243 MB. As long as it falls within this range, it is considered to meet the requirements of the task. Of course, when we create it, we will manually specify the size as 230. The final result, as long as it is within 213 to 243, is acceptable. This is our task of adjusting the size of the logical volume. Next, let's take a closer look at how to make the adjustment. First of all, there's one thing to note here. If you want to adjust the logical volume, what do we need here? Well, first of all, we need to first check the current size of the logical volume in our system, what it's called, who the file system belongs to, and other such issues. So, let's take a look first. You can use the splk command. We can see where the logical volume is located, right here. As you can see here, there is a logical volume, which is the VO logical volume required in our task. And then, where is its path? Its path is located here. You must pay attention here, because if you see a name, right? Because the task usually requires us to specify, hey, which one to expand? Which logical volume to expand? As for the file system name, this is generally not specified, because there's no need to specify it. You can see it in the system. So when expanding the logical volume here, first expand the logical volume, and then when expanding our file system, make sure to get the name right. Don't mistakenly write it as another directory. Of course, you can also do it through what? You can also do it through the LVS command can be used to check directly. Currently in our system, there is only this one. Logical volume. Just one logical volume. So after setting it up, the expansion process is actually quite simple, mainly involving just two commands. Mainly there are two aspects. The first is to expand the ROI volume itself. The first expanding the ROI volume and its size. Because in our question it specifies 230 megabytes, so we just write 230 megabytes here. After that, add the name of our logical volume. Please note, you cannot directly write VO here. Writing VO directly would be incorrect. The name of each disk, each partition, and each logical volume is actually a complete path. In our system, each actually has a stored path. So first, let's take a look. The first one, actually under the root directory, the first should be dev. All our hardware, all disks, partitions, logical volumes, etc. are under the dev directory. So here, the first step is to start with the dev directory. The second name doesn't need to be written. As long as you write dev, we use the tab key to autocomplete, and it will complete to this point. This is one of our names, and be sure not to write just vo directly. Writing vo directly would be wrong. You need to write the full path, which is like writing an absolute path for our current logical volume here. And then, next we simply press enter to let it expand. After expanding, we can see there is a prompt here, right? A prompt. We wrote 230, right? So how much did it finally expand to? It finally expanded to 232. There is a discrepancy. There will definitely be a discrepancy, but that's okay, as long as the final range is between 213 and 243. We have an allowable error range. The command specifies that we set it to 230. But the result can't be exactly 230. Okay, here's the first step. The first requirement in the task has been completed, which is the expansion of our logical volume, and it is now finished. However, in a normal system, we actually use directories directly. We can't directly use disks, right? We can't directly use partitions or physical devices like logical volumes. So, if you want to expand, just expanding our CS disk is not enough. Expanding only the logical volume is not enough. What else do you need? You also need to expand the file system. Here, how can everyone check this? We can do so through this command. Let's take a look. We can see what the current size of the logical volume is. It's the same as before, right? We see that it's actually the same as before. So this is actually the problem, right? There's no change, right? Before and after the expansion, our logical volume changed, but the directory did not change. Since the directory hasn't changed, what do we need to do here? We need to use a command to expand our directory again, which is the file system. Here, because everyone can take a look at what our format is here. Let's see what the format is. Here, in this section, you can see there are two types, right? The formats we commonly use are XFS and EXT4. EXT4, this one. So here, since it's EXT4, our command for expanding is resize. RFS, followed by the LVE inside MNT, LVM1. This is one of our methods for expansion. Of course, here we wrote it as a directory. In reality, what should we be expanding? We should be expanding our add under DV. That kind we can view. Our complete path, what is it actually? It's actually the content inside the mapper under the region inside my will. So here, when we expand, we should actually add after resize RFS. This complete path. After expanding, you can see that it has increased in size, right? There's no problem here with it getting bigger. In the end, our size has already changed to 214 just now. It has reached our acceptable range, so there's no problem. This is our expansion. Of course, generally speaking, the type of file system usually doesn't change. However, if by any chance during an exam, it does. If it's XF, what should you pay attention to? Pay attention to changing what? Changing this command. So here, what needs to be changed? The resize part doesn't change, huh? It's not resume that changes, but resign. Here, you need to change this command. Because our type is XFS, we need to change the expansion command to the corresponding command. There are no options, just directly replace the command with the new one. Here, The specific command is to add XFS at the end. Groove. And here, what you need to pay attention to is that these two methods of formatting, or rather expanding, are not quite the same. The expansion methods actually have some differences. The previous resize 2FS does it by adding the complete path of our disk at the end to expand, or by using the complete path of the logical volume to expand. Whereas our format requires adding the name of our directory to expand, which means using the name of the file system to expand. So here, what we need to pay attention to is this, actually, the way I just wrote it. If it's an XF format, you add the MNT directory at the end, if you are. In the case of ext4, you use reside2fs followed by the complete path. These two are different, so the content added afterward is different. Please pay attention to this. Of course, if you use the wrong one, it's okay. If you make a mistake, it will give an error. When you see the error, just switch to the other one and it will work. Here. First of all, because our logical volume is not XFXFS format, so here it actually, there's no point in executing the command. If it were, you would execute it like this. However, you can see here that it gives a message saying, hey, our MNTLVM1 is not a formatted file system. What is it? It's XC4. If you're expanding, for example, like these two, or modifying the expansion, you see these two are in XS format, then you can use this command. This is the size of our logical volume. The adjustment is actually just a method of expansion. Generally speaking, it's about expansion. And usually, there won't be questions about reduction. The reason is that reducing a logical volume is a feasible and achievable technology, but it's not particularly commonly used. The reason is quite simple. Expansion is typically needed when your disk space is insufficient, right? We need, for example, to expand a volume group in a way, and then expand a logical volume so that the space within our directory can be larger. This is the purpose of our expansion, right? So after you've expanded, if you feel like a lot of space is wasted and you want to reduce it, there's a problem that arises. If the space you want to reduce already contains some data, reducing it might lead to data loss. So generally speaking, we don't do a lot of reduction, not very much at all. Therefore, the exam topics are different. They won't test on reduction, usually only on expansion. This is about adjusting the size of our logical volume, a method of expansion. Here, it's important to strictly follow the size requirements of the question. Ultimately, the result obtained will definitely be different from the question's requirements, definitely different. However, don't panic. As long as your command is written according to the question's requirements, it's fine. Don't say that the final result came out, and you see, we only have how much here? Only 214 MB, which is not enough. Then should I add more? No need to add more? Hey, if you add more at home, it's too much. It's fine, just like this is okay. At home, if you exceed the required range, then these will be wrong. So here, everyone should strictly modify according to the size required in the question. The first command above is to modify what first? First, modify the size of our logical volume. Expand it first. Expand the logical volume. And then the second step is to resize our file system after expanding the logical volume. This is a method to adjust our logical volume. Okay. This is our first disk question, the first disk question. That concludes question 18 for us. If you need the complete question bank, you can leave a message in the comments section below to purchase the most stable question bank at the best price. That's it for today, everyone. Goodbye.